So I want us to get a little bit philosophical for a minute, but in a very practical way. Really, we are matching the what people buy with the why. So we all know where flight shopping is going. We've talked a lot about retailing and dynamic pricing and upsells and ancillaries. But I want to talk for a little bit about why people buy. Talk about persona and tone and richness of content. Tone is one of those things we easily take for granted, and it matters. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on with this family. This is not my family, but if this poor dad does not get his salad dressing very quickly, this entire family unit is going to fall apart. You've got the mom sort of screaming at the kid, what is that place? Where is it? Kid assumes he or she is being yelled at. And we don't know why this is all such a complicated thing. And maybe it's not. Maybe this is an innocent request. Just send me the name. But just seeing the all caps, the multiple punctuation, it sets sort of a frame of mind for us, the reader. The flip side of that is also true. When there's too much text, when it's hard to decipher, we get confused, we get frustrated. When there are gaps in data, when there are gaps in content, it's not saying nothing, it's saying something. It's setting an expectation of confusion. It's setting an expectation of ambiguity. Consumers don't like that, travelers don't like that. So if you take away just only one thing from today, it would be to do the simplest thing possible and close your data gap. So just a quick show of hands, please. Raise your hands if you're an airline filing branded fares with ATP Go. Okay, I'm a little blinded by the lights. Keep them up for one more minute. Okay, each and every one of you, it's a good portion of the room, each and every one of you could have a material impact to billions of flight searches tomorrow simply by closing the data gaps. And by the way, the content doesn't even need to be perfect. We'll talk about how we normalize it in a second. But just rounding out that data so that the tone of your offers is complete and comprehensive is the easiest first step that we could possibly take. It doesn't need anything new to be built. It's ready right now. So please help us make sure you take that action. After that, let's really talk about the mission, about why we are doing what we're doing. Well, we know we want to deploy rich content. We know as well we want to drive upsell and ancillaries. We know, of course, we want to create dynamic pricing, have NDC out there. And we know as well that we want to file fare families and optional services. But all of that is a means to an end. The end we really want to talk about is better monetizing the products that your airline is investing beyond just baggage and fares, and more fundamentally, modernizing flight shopping. So as we talk about rallying around that mission, I want us to keep in mind that that is the ultimate goal. There are lots of steps that need to be taken to get there, but that is ultimately what we are all trying to do. And the reason we need to rally around the mission is because missions are better. Missions survive when plans fail, and plans always fail. I had planned on completing this presentation 2 weeks ago. As anyone in the marketing group will tell you, I actually completed it 2 days ago. So that was the plan. The plan was missed, but here we are, and we're talking about the things we need to talk about, and we are well down the path of solving this big problem. So how do we actually do it? Well, first step is, of course, to align stakeholders. And I will tell you my favorite meeting I ever have with airlines, it usually happens the third or fourth meeting in, and well, unless you're American Airlines, then it's like the sixth meeting in. And there's usually 8 or 10 people in the room. Sometimes larger airlines, it's 20 people in the room. But what happens is someone from one of these departments is meeting someone at one of the other departments for the first time, brought together by this rich content mission. Sometimes it's the onboard product person meeting the RM person, or the distribution person meeting the marketing person. But it is this moment where we are convinced that airlines understand what they're doing, the mission of modernizing flight shopping, and the how they're going to do it. So we don't have time to get into each and every one of these steps, but the simplest first thing to do is just get the right 6 or 10 people together in your onboard products team so we can sort of align about what's physically installed on your aircraft. You, of course, the revenue management team, have critical roles to play, not just in those data gaps we talked about, but really being plugged in and knowing the fair rules in the future of how these things will actually be transacted. Of course, marketing for media and copy, and then we really can get into other more advanced things with distribution and sales orgs. But that first meeting, just to get that mission line, is critical. The last thing you would want to do is just sort of give this project to a single person, because the reality is to do this needs to be part of all of our daily workflows. It's not a big ask. It's a little bit of extra work each day as part of our regular work, but it's towards a purpose. Then, just a first achievable use case. This seems like a big step. It's actually not. So once you've closed those data gaps, we've already built the processes, the data to ingest that, normalize it, translate it, and localize it. So even though you may have a lot of varied rules and a lot of free text and a lot of all caps, because that's how this data has been filed today, it can be normalized and put out easily, concisely, in a consumer-friendly way, very, very quickly. The very next thing we do after that is we decorate those offers. So you can see here, we will sit down, we will talk with your teams about the right thing to talk about for that fare on that flight. Meal by time of day, the actual lounge you could get into, whether paid or free is irrelevant. But really, it is that first step of getting the fare information, that second step of just finding the right thing for that one channel. It's simply working with touch points that exist today to serve your passengers. So again, get the raw fare data, sit down, find that right first channel, work with your marketing team, not only to know exactly what's physically installed on the aircraft or to validate the data we already have for you, but really to get your media focused not just on a brand level, but on a flight level. We're all tired of seeing, pictures of outside of aircraft in banner ads. We want to see exactly what we're going to get. That media is there. I can almost promise that to you. Sitting down with your marketing team and getting them to target it is the right next step. And then, of course, working with your digital teams to get this and their direct channels. Once we have those processes in place, we then can talk, of course, about scale. Specific use cases where we want to increase our ancillaries on a paid seat or on a seat map. Optimizing content for mobile channels, talking more specifically to leisure persona versus what you see here in the middle versus corporate persona, which you see here on the right. This doesn't require a ton of big effort. It's the right second step. It's the right sort of follow-on. Once we've kind of got that core processes behind us, we then start thinking about not just your airline, but across partners. So one of the core values we have at Route Happy is to embrace complexity and create simple solutions. So among our partners here, Air Canada and United, we have been tackling this problem of code share flights. Now, we did some quick consumer research just to see the extent to which your average consumer understood what a code share was. And not surprisingly, there was some confusion there. Perhaps it's an aircraft loan, perhaps it's a transfer of service. They just really couldn't quite articulate it. And then we sort of supplemented that research. Well, what matters to them most? And not surprisingly, it's the things that sort of feel intuitively right. They don't have to recheck their bags. They can get their mileage. They know where to go at the airport. Simple, concise messages that we can then, using the same processes we talked about just a couple of slides ago, create, target, deliver specifically in those code share flights. So again, this translation between complicated data, the what we're doing, and the why we do it sort of gets matched in a way that consumers can understand. And of course, it allows us to see what you further see on the slide to really get into why these are good value propositions, set the experience of your flight, and monetize all these things that you as airlines are doing every day. Enhancing your meals, rolling out Wi-Fi, rolling out premium economy seats, really making that stuff compelling and effective. We don't ask you to do any of this alone. We are here to help you. This is all we do every day, often late at night. We are here to help. We can help you get started on that rich content journey. We can help you figure out that right first use case. And of course, create your content, whether it's data that you've already filed, media you've already created, or something in between, and really figure out the best and initial places to launch those use cases. Last, and perhaps most important, is stay excited and celebrate success. This, as a mission, is going to go on for quite some time. I hope in the next elevator too, we'll be talking about how Siri and Alexa can help you differentiate your fares, and getting into content types like 3D maps and things that we've just started to explore. So this is not a project that ends on a specific day. This is really the future of what we will all be doing, and we should always take a moment to celebrate where we are and how far we've come. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it, and we look forward to helping you the next day.